Hello guys, it's Sally here. I've got this GCSE Edexcel Paper 1 walkthrough for you. This is from May 2024 and it's a non-calculator paper and it's slightly different to most walkthroughs. I'll give you a little micro tutorial on each topic. So let's get started. So first page, question 1, and we have to write the number 18,475 correct to the nearest thousand. So if we lay that number out, we have 18475, and the 5, that's the units. You might call them the ones. The 7 is the tens, the 4 are the hundreds, the 8 is the thousands. So we need the 4, the 7, 5, these 3 digits here, they need to be zeros, and we've got to round it to the nearest thousand. So because the 4 is below 5, we round that number down. So that would be 18,000. And it's only 1 mark. So there's no working out. Well, you wouldn't have working out with that question anyway. But do always check how many marks the question wants. Question 2, write 0.3 as a percentage, % out of 100. So again, it's only 1 mark, but if you were to show that mathematically, it would be 0.3 multiplied by 100. And the way you would lay that out is you would do 100 there, you do 0.3 here. Don't worry about lining up decimal places when you multiply. You fix that after. I'll show you a little trick. And then we're going to do 3 multiplied by 0, that's 0. 3 multiplied by another 0 is 0. And lastly, 3 multiplied by 1 is 3. Now, the little trick I was telling you about, you count how many decimal places are in the whole calculation, and there's just 1, so that's where you put the decimal point. If there were 2 decimal places, you put it 2, and that gives us an answer of 30%. We haven't got to write the percentage because look, that's there for us. Question 3, write down the mathematical name for the type of angle marked Y. I showed this to a student a few days ago and they were stumped, and it's because you tend to learn your angle names much younger and forget about them come exam time. So a quick angle name recap. First one, that here, that's called an acute. That's less than 90 degrees. This one here, that's our classic right angle. That's a 90-degree angle. If you ever hear the word perpendicular, that just means 90 degrees. Then this one here, that's an obtuse. And then this one, which is what they've asked us, that's a reflex. So it's the one that goes all the way around the outside. It's bigger than 180 degrees. So reflex. Question 4, write these numbers in order of size. Start with the smallest. Okay, so take a look at our numbers here. We pick one of them. Let's pick the 0.03 and let's examine what we have. So the first digits after the decimal points, those are your tenths. And then the second digit after the decimal point, those are your hundredths. So these numbers are all laid out. Some of them are 2 decimal places, some are 1. So we know that one here, 0.03, that's the smallest because it has no tenths and it has 3 hundredths. And compared to the others, we can say that's the smallest. So we'll start with that one. Put a comma in between your numbers. The next one's going to be one of these two. It's either 0.1 or 0.16. Well, if we laid 0.1 out with the same amount of decimal places, we'd see that that has no hundredths and that has 6 hundredths. So therefore, the next smallest is actually 0.1. Then it's 0.16. And then here we've got 0.2 and 0.21. Now 0.2 with 2 decimal places is 0.20. So this one has 1 more value, it has 1 more hundredth, so that's the largest. So we can say 0.2 and we're finished with 0.21 as the largest. Question 5, find the square root of 64. Hopefully you know your square numbers. So examples would be 3 squared, so that's 3 times 3, and that equals 9. But here we're dealing with 64, so that's going to be 8 squared because 8 multiplied by 8 is 64. And the square root is just the undoing of that. So square root is this. Square root of 64 would equal 8. Now, they're not asking for any of this working out. I'm just doing that for you, just to give you a bit of a recap. So your answer will be 8. Question 6. Ryan buys 4 cakes at £1.30 each, 2 identical tins of soup. There we don't know the price of the soup, so they're probably going to ask us that. Ryan pays with a £10 note. He gets £1.80 change. How much does Ryan pay for each tin of soup? Okay, so this is a 4-mark question. So firstly, let's work out how much he paid. So we have £10 minus the £1.80. Let's do our working out over here. Minus 1.80. 0 minus 0, 0. 0 minus 8 we can't do, so we've got to borrow. So we'll borrow from that 10 there. We'll turn that to a 0. That then becomes a 10. Cross that out, that becomes a 9. That's a 10 now. So 10 minus 8 is 2. Decimal point in the same place, and 9 minus 1 is 8. So that's £8.20. That will be 1 mark. Then 4 cakes at £1.30 each. Let's work that one out. 4 times £1.30. And we do this over here. 400. 4 3s are 12. 2 carry your 1. 4 times 1 is 4, plus the 1 is 5. And there's a total of 2 decimal places in the whole calculation. So that's what we do. We put that there. So over here we can say £5.20. That would be our second mark. And then how much does he pay for each tin of soup? So we do £8.20 minus this £5.20. And we can see that equals 3, but show your working. 0 minus 0, 0. 2 minus 2 is 0. Decimal point in the same place. 8 minus 5 is 3. Put that there. And then we had 2 tins of soup. So we're going to do 3 divided by 2, which will equal 1.5. And that's your answer, £1.50. Question 7. Oh, we look like we've got to do quite a bit of work here. Okay, the table shows the number of hours that Lena and Pavel worked each of 4 days last week. So we've got Lena, Pavel, Wednesday, 6 and 7, Thursday. Okay, this kind of data, what do they want? On the grid, draw a suitable diagram or chart for this information. The type of data we have here is data we count. It's not data we measure. And data we count is called discrete. So if you were counting number of cars in a survey or pets owned by friends in your class, that's discrete data. It's whole data. You can't split it. Whereas continuous is stuff you measure. So people's height, that's continuous. Anyway, for discrete data, a suitable diagram or a chart, I'd say a bar chart. And as we're dealing with 2 people, 1 day, and its number of hours. These are the hours. The hours go up to a maximum of 9. And then label your axes. I'm going to write day down the bottom. And then hours for the y-axis. And that's 0. That would be 1. And we'll do Wednesday first. That's Lena's 6 hours. Now let's do Pavel's. And then we'll leave a space because otherwise it would be a histogram if we didn't leave a space. So Thursday, Lena did 9 hours. So she's up here, isn't she? And Pavel did 6. And then Friday, Lena did 8 and Pavel did 5. Saturday, they both did 6. That'll be a bit easier, won't it? Okay, now we'll label the bottom. So this is going to be Wednesday. And we've got Thursday. Let's move that over here. And this one is Friday. And lastly, Saturday. Now you need a key and you need to differentiate. So let's use a pencil. I would shade. What's it? I would do this. I would do diagonal lines for one of them. We know this is Lena, isn't it? It could be dots. And then you'll make a note with your key, Lena, and then Pavel. So that should get you 4 marks. How much was it actually? That was a 4-mark question. Okay, question 8. OA, OB and OC are 3 straight lines. OA, OB and OC. Work out the size of the angle marked X. That should be okay. So angles around a point all the way around here, they equal 360 degrees. So what have we got? Well, we've got 220 and 90. It's a 2-mark question, so they do want the working out. So if you can try and lay it out like an equation, it's the best way to do it. So you would do 220 plus 90 plus X equals 360. Now evaluate it like a proper equation. So 220 plus 90, that's going to give you 310 plus X equals 360. Oh, let's move this over so we're not near the answer box. That's better, isn't it? And then subtract the 310, both sides, and you end up with X equals 50. And so angle X is 50. You don't need to put the degree sign in, it's there. So give a reason for your answer. Look how many lines they've got here. So it's only worth 1 mark, but they want a good explanation. And you will say what we said here, that angles around a point equal 360 degrees. So you'd write angles, and I'd say add up to 360 degrees. Make your writing nice and neat so your examiner can read it. You'll hear me go on about that a lot, but you don't want any chance of losing marks. Question 9. Here is a number machine. Input times 2 minus 10 will give you an output. So work out the output when the input is 13 and it's 1 mark. So if we put 13 in here and we're going to multiply that by 2, and then we're going to subtract 10. So pop that in a bracket. Minus equals 13 times 2, that's 26. Minus 10 equals 16. Now work out the input when the output is 28. This is 2 marks. Okay, what they're looking for you to be able to do here is the reverse of the number machine. So when we put a value in, we get our output. And if we go the other way, we would get the input. So we have a value of 28. So 28 is our output. Now we've got to go the other way. So we've got to not subtract 10, we've got to add 10. And then we don't multiply by 2, we do the opposite. We divide by 2. So you would lay this out as 28 plus 10, I'll put in a bracket, divided by 2. And that would be 38 divided by 2, which equals 19. Part C, show that there is a number for which the output is the same as the input. 2-mark question, and I can see that's going to be 10 because 2 times 10 is 20. Minus 10, that will give us 10. You can try a couple of other numbers. There's marks for trial and error in this. So even if you don't get the correct answer, show him working out. So say, for example, you tried 5. So if you said 5 times 2 minus 10 equals 0, that's not right. There is a mark for that. One of those 2 marks down here, they will give 1 for trial and error, even if you've got it wrong. So we would go with our 10, we've decided, haven't we? So 10 multiplied by 2 minus 10, that gives us 10. So we get the full marks because we've also got the correct answer. I'd underline it. Maybe you want to say 10. Even though there's not a space for the mark down here, I'd probably write 10. And you could put a cross there to say that, wasn't it? Question 10. There are 24 cows and 36 sheep on a farm. Write as a ratio the number of cows to the number of sheep. Give your ratio in its simplest form. So when you're writing ratio, it's the first number and descriptor is the first thing you write. So you're going to write cows 2. So cows were first and sheep were next. So cows to S, 24, and your ratio sign, 36. So now we've got to simplify these, and the quickest way to do this is look for the highest common factor of both numbers. So it's a 2-mark question. We haven't got to show that really, but what do we have to divide by 24 and 36 to get the smallest value? The highest common factor of 24 and 36 is 12, isn't it? So if we divide by, let's change my pen colour, we divide by 12, both sides, that's going to give us 2 on this side to 3 on that side. They're both prime numbers, we can't go any smaller, so our answer is 2 to 3. Question 11a, work out -12 divided by -4. So we have two negatives, a negative multiplied or divide, because remember, dividing is just the opposite of multiplication. So a negative multiplied or divided by a negative, that equals a positive. The key to remember here is if the signs are the same, it's always a positive. If the signs are different, so if you had a negative divided by a positive, that would be a negative. And so our answer is 12 divided by 4. It's only 1 mark. That's 3. 11b, find the value of 2 to the power of 5. That's just 2 multiplied by 2, multiplied by another 2, and 2, and 2. And as we don't have a calculator, we're saying 2 times 2, 4, times another 2 is 8. And another 2 gives you 16, and another 2 will be 32. And then part C of 11, write one pair of brackets in this calculation so that the answer is correct. Okay, you have 30 divided by 3 plus 2 minus 4. So this one is a bit of trial and error really, because if you look at it, if we did our bracket, let's have a look. What about here? So that means you'd have to do the brackets first. Divided by 3 plus 2 is 5 minus 4. So we've got to do our division. Oh, that needs to equal 2. So we need to do our division first. That would be 6. And yeah, 6 minus 4 equals 2. So it's going to be there, isn't it? Let's do that in black ink. Rub that out, because that's actually our answer. Nice and neat, so you don't obscure any of the signs. Brilliant. Okay, question 12. The diagram shows a triangle and a rectangle. So study your diagrams first. It's always nice to have a little bit of a clue before we get to what the question's asking us. So we have a triangle. We've got all the measurements of a triangle. The rectangle, we haven't got the lengths, but they're going to ask us for that. So the perimeter of the rectangle, that's all the measurements around the outside added up, is a quarter of the perimeter of the triangle. Okay. They want the length of the rectangle like we thought. So let's add up the triangle first. And so that would be 36 plus 30 plus 14 equals, and then non-calculator paper, so we're going to show our working. We do 36 plus 30 plus 14. 6 and 4 is 10. 0, carry your 1. 3, 6, 7, 8. So we can say that's 80. And then that's the triangle. So the perimeter of the rectangle is a quarter. So a quarter of 80 is 80 divided by 4. You might have to show that again. So do bus stop for that. 80, 4 there. 4's into 8 go 2. 4's into 0 go none. So that will equal 20. And then that's the perimeter of the rectangle, and the length we don't know. So 4 multiplied by the length equals 20. And then we're going to divide by the 4. This is just like an algebra equation, like 4L. And length equals 5. This 20 divided by 4, I would probably also lay that out just in case it's on the mark scheme and the examiner misses what you've done here. Even though this is correct, you never know. So 20 divided by 4 is 5. So we can say that the length of the rectangle, which is double check, that's what they wanted, work out the length of the rectangle, it's 5. Question 13, this is a big wordy question, so take your time, read it. If you struggle with wordy questions, read it a couple of times, usually 2-3 times, you'll get the maths out of it. So it starts from me. So let's have a look. There are only £10 notes and £20 notes in a wallet. Ali takes a random note from the wallet. Write down the probability that Ali takes a note with a value of more than 5. This is quite nice because look, you've only got 20 and £10 notes. So the probability he takes out a note more than 5, 1. And then there are only 1p coins and 2p coins in a bag. The total value of coins in the bag is 40p. The total value of 1p coins is the same as the total value of 2p coins. Simon takes a random coin from the bag. Find the probability that Simon takes a 1p coin. Well, if there's 40p in total, then for there to be an equal number of 2p coins and 1p coins, there must be 21p coins, I think, and 10 2p coins. So I think we could say 20 times 1p equals 20p, and 10 multiplied by 2p equals 20p. So that gives us our equal value of 1p coins and 2p coins, and the probability that Simon takes a 1p coin, well, there's total of 30 coins altogether. So here we're going to do it as a fraction. So we have a total of 30 coins altogether. Now, how many 1p coins are there? Well, there's 20 of those. So 20 over 30, and probability we should show in its simplest form. So all you have to do here really is simplify this fraction to 2 over 3, and there's your answer. They haven't asked for the answer to be fully simplified, but you should do it, and that should be your 2 marks. Question 14, work out 273 multiplied by 54, and this is a 3-mark question. So it's quite interesting where they give the 3 marks. I'll show you as we work through. So you've got a couple of methods. You could either do long multiplication or grid methods. I prefer long multiplication. So you've got 273 multiplied by 54, and do include your multiplication sign because there's another stage we're going to be adding and they want to see the difference. We start with this. 4 times 3, that's 12. 2 carry the 1. 4 times 7 is 28 plus that carried 1, that's 29. 9 carry the 2, and then 4 times 2 is 8 plus that 2 is 10. So there's your first line. The second line we're going to multiply by this 5, but it's a 50, so we have to put a placeholder 0 just here. And then 5 times 3 is 15. 5 carry the 1. 5 times 7 is 35 plus the 1, that's 36. 6 carry the 3. And then 5 times 2 is 10 plus that 3 is 13. So that's the first mark. And then the second mark is showing that you've added these two. So put a plus sign there. 2 is 14. 4 carry the 1. 6 plus that carried 1 is 7. 1 plus 3 is 4. And then 1. And there's your final answer, 14,742. Question 15. Tessa recorded the times that 15 adults took to complete a run. She showed her results in a stem and leaf diagram. So if you look at the key 4, then the bar 5, that represents 45 minutes. So at the first line, we've got 45 minutes and then we've got 49 minutes. We have to find the median. 2 ways we can do this. We can either list them all out or we can tick them off on the stem and leaf diagram. So the median is the middle value. And if we have a total of 15 times, so 15 times for this run, it would be the middle one. It would be the 8th one. So we cross off 7 from either side. So firstly, we'll list them out and then I'll show you how to do it on the stem and leaf. So if we list them out, well, it's only 1 mark, but if we do that, you're going to write the first value is 4 and 5. So that's 45. Then there's 49. You get where I'm going. Then there's 53, 57 and 58. And then we've got 61, 62, 64, 65, and we've got two 67s. And then we've got a 72, a 76 and a 77. We're not going to get it all on one line, are we? And then lastly, we have an 81. So if you cross them off in pairs, one from the beginning and one from the end, from beginning, the end, beginning, the end, beginning, the end, beginning, the end, and there we have 64. And then I'll show you how to do it on the stem and leaf. It's the same process. You knock off that one from the beginning and that one from the end, and then the next one from the beginning, the next biggest one from the end, beginning, end, beginning, end, beginning, end, beginning, end, beginning, end. You're left with 4, and that's in the 60s, so 64. Next, we've got to find the range. That's the largest value, subtract the smallest value. So our largest value was 81 and our smallest was 45. So when you do cross these off in stem and leaf diagrams, do it with pencil just in case you obscure the numbers. And we have 2 marks, so they want the working out. So it's 81 minus 45. You might have to show your workings. 1 minus 5 you can't do, so we're going to borrow 1 from there, turn that to a 7. So we have 11 minus 5. That's 6. 7 minus 4, that's 3. And it may seem overkill doing this and this, but I guarantee you're going to get the marks. And now, as part of the same question, Tessa also recorded the times that 15 children took to complete the run. For the children, the median was 75 minutes. Compare the times that the adults took with the times that the children took. Okay, look here, we've got quite a few lines where they want a good comparison. They're asking us to compare the times the adults took with the times that the children took. So we know the median for the adults was 64 and the median for the children was 75. So I would compare those two values, and then I think we can say that the average, the median average for the adults was smaller, so the adults were faster. So be descriptive here, make sure you're answering the question. And adults were faster than the children because their median average score was lower. Question 16. Batteries are sold in packs of 4, packs of 8 and in packs of 12. A pack of 4 batteries costs £1.80, a pack of 8 costs £3.20 and a pack of 12 batteries costs £6. Which pack gives best value for money? You must show how you get to your answer, and it's a 3-mark question. So that will be a mark for working out each battery, won't it? Or the price of each battery in each pack. So let's lay it out nice and clear. We'll start with the 4 pack. And we're going to do 1.80 divided by 4. So we do our division with bus stop. We've got a decimal to be working with. So 1.80 goes in the bus stop, 4 on the outside. 4's into 1 goes 0. Put the decimal point in the same place and carry that 1 there. And 4's into 18. Well, 4 4's are 16, so that will be 4. And we have a remainder of 2. And then 4's into 20 go 5. So we can say 1.80 divided by 4 equals 45p. Underline that, help your examiner find your working out. Whoever's marking your paper, it's all about making it easy for them to read. And then we've got the 8 pack. So let's do that here. We'll make a note, 8 pack. The same process, we have £3.20 divided by 8. Bus stop again. The £3.20 goes in the bus stop, 8 on the outside. 8's into 3, they don't go, so that's a 0. Decimal point the same place. Carry that 3. 8's into 32, that goes 4. And 8's into 0 is 0. So that one's cheaper, which we would expect. There's more. Usually a greater pack will be cheaper. You would expect now the 12 might be cheaper, but don't assume. So that's going to be 40p. And again, we'll underline that. And then lastly, we've got the 12 pack. And that's £6 divided by 12. So 6 in the bus stop, 12 here, 12s into 6, 0, carry the decimal point up, and now 12s into 60, that's 5. Look, this is more expensive, they're 50p. And it asked us which pack gives best value for money. So we should say the 8 pack, we should define that. We'll say 8 pack gives best value for money at 40p per battery. That's a perfect answer. You've got each calculation is clearly worked out, and then you stated exactly what the exam has asked you, which pack gives best value for your money, and you've shown all your working out. On to question 17. We've got solve 2 bracket 4x minus 5 equals 18. This is a 3-mark question. Now with foundation algebra, you've got to be careful. They want to see all the steps, even the steps which normally you wouldn't show. So I'll walk you through it. We write the equation out. So it's 2 bracket 4x minus 5, close the bracket, equals 18. First step, we're going to multiply out the bracket, which is quite frustrating because normally you could just go 2 times that and 2 times that and write your answer. But because of those 3 marks, you'll want to show it. So 2 multiplied by 4x equals 8x, and 2 multiplied by negative 5 equals negative 10. Now you can write it out as 8x minus 10 equals 18. So we have x here, a number term, the negative 10, and a number term on the other side. So we want to move this negative 10. Now normally, especially in your science, you could just do plus 10 there, plus 10 there. But the mark scheme wants to actually see you add the 10, which I think is quite crazy, but give them what they want. So 8x minus 10 plus 10 equals 18 plus 10. They're a little bit vague in the mark scheme about this, but that way you definitely will get the marks. And therefore, you've got a negative 10 and a positive 10. They've gone, so you're just left with 8x. And then over here, you've got 18 plus 10. 18 plus 10, that gives you 28. And now you've got to show you're dividing by 8. So you're going to do 8x divided by 8 equals 28 divided by 8. X equals 28 over 8. X equals 3 whole ones and 4 eighths, which cancels down to a half. So put 3.5. And then question 18, write down the value of 10 to the power of 0. So anything to the power of 0, hopefully you know that's 1. This is your laws of indices. So anything to the power of 0, x to the power of 0, that equals 1. A million to the power of 0, that equals 1. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. Question 19. Looks like we've got a nice transformation one here. So study your graph first. You've got shape A here and we've got shape B here. And they want us to describe fully the single transformation that maps triangle A to triangle B. Maps just means moves. So transformation, there's 3 types of transformation. There's 4 actually, I think. Let's jot them down. So the first be reflection. Then you've got rotation. Then you've got translation, which this one's a translation. And the last one is enlargement. And as I said, this is a translation. And we're going to translate it by moving the shape. We move the triangle and we display the movement with a vector. be a column vector. So you have a pair of brackets like this. The top will be the X movement and the bottom will be the Y movement. So if you look at the triangle, you need to get this triangle down to there. So firstly, we move it in the X direction. So pick one point. We'll pick this corner point here. That point there we pick. Need to move that across and down. So we count the units we're going to go across first. We want to go from there to about there, don't we? And so that's going to be 5 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units in the positive X direction. Got a vector here, and we're going to go 5 in the positive. You see, you've gone in the positive direction. Now we're going to go in the Y direction, which is down. So that's going to be negative because we're going down. So we go from here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a negative 4. And it's a 2-mark question. So that's probably enough for our 2 marks. But with all these lines here, they've told us to describe fully the single transformation that maps it. So we're going to say it's a translation. So if we say triangle A is translated 5 units in the positive X direction and 4 units the negative Y direction. Probably too much information, but you never know where they're going to give you the marks, and you've been given all those lines, so you may as well just put the information in there. Question 20. Here are the first 4 terms of an arithmetic sequence. We have 1, 5, 9 and 13. Find an expression. So that's algebra without an equal sign in terms of n for the nth term of this sequence. Well, with an arithmetic sequence, hopefully you know the formula, and that is A, which is the first term, plus n minus 1 multiplied by D, which is the difference. So A is the first term, D is the difference. And the difference with our sequence is a positive 4 in between. We have the plus 4. So 1 to 5 is 1 plus 4 is 5. So if we put those values in, our first term, that's 1. So that's A. So 1 plus, and we do our bracket, n minus 1, and the difference is 4. So we've got to multiply everything in the bracket first by 4, going the other way. Remember, wherever you've got a number next to a bracket, there's an invisible multiplication sign, but you've got to multiply everything. So 4 multiplied by 1 and 4 multiplied by n. So write the 1, nothing's happened with that. We do the 4 multiplied by n first. That will give you 4n. Then 4 multiplied by negative 1 is negative 4. Collect our like terms. So we've got 1. That's a positive 1, minus 4, so that would give us negative 3. So that becomes 4n minus 3. And that's your expression. Question 21. So part A, they want us to work out 3 4/5 minus 1 2/3. So we've got a mixed number with subtracting fractions. So whenever we're adding or subtracting fractions, we have to have the same denominator. Best way to handle this is we're going to turn them into a top-heavy fraction first, and then we can change the denominator, and then we'll probably have to change it back to a mixed number and simplify. Now it's only 2 marks, so there's a bit of working out which we'll go through, but you probably won't have to show this much. So how do we turn a mixed number into a top-heavy fraction? The first step, we take the big number and we multiply it by the numerator, and then once we've got that result, we add what the denominator is. So with this situation, you've got 3 multiplied by 5 plus the 4. So I always say pop multiplication in brackets, especially when there's addition there or subtraction. So 3 multiplied by 5 is 15 plus the 4 is 19. That gives us a new fraction of 19. We're going to have the same denominator, that's not changed, over 5 minus, and then we'll do the same with this one, the 1 2/3. So 1 2/3. Multiply the whole number by the denominator, then we will add that 2 and add the numerator. So we have 1 multiplied by 3 plus 2 equals 5. Let's move this 19 over 5 minus 5 over 3. And that equals, now we need the same denominator now. So the lowest common multiple of 5 and 3 is 15. Now, how did we turn 5 into 15? We multiplied that by 3. Whatever we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top. So 19 multiplied by 3, that's 57. And then 5 over 3, multiply that one by 5. Same with the top. So we have 25 over 15. And so we can subtract the numerators. 57 minus 25. That gives us 32, same denominator, 15. And now we need to simplify. So what do we have? 32 over 15 is just 32 divided by 15. And there are 2 15s in 32. And then we're left with 2 remainder. That's our answer. 2 whole ones and 2 over 15. Next part. Kevin was asked to work out 2 1/3 multiplied by 5/8. Here is his working and his answer. Kevin's answer is wrong. What mistake has Kevin made? Okay, so firstly, he multiplied the 2 by 3 and added 1. That should give him 7. That did. It kept the same denominator. 5/8, that stayed the same. So we should multiply the top. When you multiply in fractions, you just multiply the top and the bottom. So 7 times 5, that's 35, that's correct. And 3 times 8 is 24. So he's right so far. What's he done here? 24, how many marks is this question? Only 1, so we haven't really got to show anything. You can see where he's gone wrong, because 35 minus 24 actually equals 11. And so he's got 9. His answer should be 1 and 11 over 24. That's with the remainder. So what mistake has Kevin made? The mistake he's made is he hasn't converted the top heavy fraction correctly into the mixed number. It should have been 1 and 11 over 24, and he's got 1 and 9 over 24. So you've got to write that out. So we'll answer this as did not convert the improper fraction 35 over 24 correctly into a mixed number. His answer was 1 and 9 over 24, but should have been 1 and 11 over 24. That's a good explanation. Absolutely guarantee you'll get the mark. Question 22. The diagram shows a plan of a floor. We've got an L shape. Petra is going to cover the floor with paint. Petra has 3 tins of paint. There are 2.5 litres of paint in each tin. Petra thinks 1 litre of paint will cover 10 metres squared of floor. Assuming Petra is correct, does she have enough paint to cover the floor? You must show all your work in. And by the look of it, it's a 4 mark. Yes, it is. So let's work out how many litres of paint she's got first. So 3 multiplied by 2.5. Let's show our workings out. 2.5 multiplied by 3. 3 times 5 is 15. 5 carry your 1, 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. And we've got 1 decimal place, so 7.5. And I will make a note that that's 7.5 litres of paint. Now, what's the next thing? She thinks 1 litre will cover 10 metres squared of floor. So if 1 litre will cover 10 metres squared, she's got 7.5 litres. So we need 7.5 multiplied by 10. That would give us 75. Enough paint, yeah, to cover 75 meters squared. Let's have a look at this shape. So we've got to break this shape up into two, really, haven't we? We could do, say, a line along here. You really want to use a ruler. Okay, so we've got two shapes. Let's say shape A and shape B. So shape A, 5 multiplied by, well, we've got 10 and 6, so we should do 10 minus 6. We should show that, shouldn't we? Show that over here. 10 minus 6 equals 4. So shape A is 5 multiplied by 4. That's 20 meters squared. And then shape B, 8 multiplied by 6. That's okay. That's 48 meters squared. So 20 plus 48 equals 68 meters squared. So this is the floor area. And the question, does she have enough paint to cover the floor? And you're going to say yes. She has enough paint to cover up to 75 meters squared is less at 68 meters squared. A big yes there, and then they can see you've got all your calculations. So that should be your 4 marks. Part B. Actually, 1 litre of paint will cover 11 metres squared of floor. Does this affect your answer to part A? You must give reason for your answer. So they want a yes or no. Does this affect your answer? So it's a no. That's your clear no. Now you've got to give reason. A 7.5 litres will now cover a greater area. That's all they're going to want for 1 mark. If you wanted to show some maths, you could, but I don't think it'd be necessary. So you could say 7.5 multiplied by 11, which equals 82.5 meters squared. Question 23. So here is a Venn diagram. There's a little squiggly symbol for the universal set. I love that symbol, I do. Okay, they want the numbers that are in set P with this little apostrophe, P prime, that means. So that's not what's in P, it's the complement of P. I'll show you what that means. So the complement of a set is everything that's not in that set. So if we were saying it was P, it would be 12, 15 and 18, but we take the reverse, the opposite. So if I highlight it for you, so it's everything here, here and here, just not P itself. So you're going to start with the lowest value, which is 10, comma in between 11, 13, 14, 16 and 17. So the way you say that is P prime. And then our next one, part B, a number is chosen at random from the universal set. Find the probability that this number is in the set P union Q. That's what that stands for, PUQ. So you've got 2 types of these. You've either got a U like that or an N. And I'll show you quickly what they are. First shape, if I just highlight that middle part there, if this was A and this was B, that would be A, NB. It's A intersection, but it looks like an N. You don't write it like that kind of an N, though. There's no vertical line there. There's not this bit. That reads as the intersection of A and B. On the other diagram, A, B, that's A union B. And that, if we highlight it, that's all of them. Okay? So that's what we're dealing with here. So we need the probability that this number is in set P union Q. So all of this and all of this one. Firstly, let's count up the total numbers. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So total number of numbers is 9. And with probability fraction, we'll do outer 9. And then find the probability that that number is inside both circles. So how many numbers do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 over 9. We can't simplify that down. That's your final answer. Question 24. Sophie drives a distance of 513 kilometres on a motorway in France. She pays €0.81 for every 10 kilometres she drives. Work out an estimate for the total amount that Sophie pays. So estimate, don't be tempted to work out the correct value. They want an estimate and it's worth 3 marks. So we could look at the 513, and I think the best way with estimating is to take it to one significant figure. So the 513 kilometres, we'll make that 500. And she pays 0.81. We'll make that 0.8 for every 10 kilometres she drives. Well, why don't we divide this by 10 first? So then we know that's 50. And now if she pays, so we've got 50 lots of 10 kilometres that she's driven. So if we multiply that by 0.8, 50 multiplied by 0.8, we show that. 8 times 0, 0. 8 times 5 is 40. And then we get the decimal point there. And that's a good rounded amount. And then part 2B. Is your answer to part A an underestimate or an overestimate? Give reason for your answer. 1 mark, but again, quite a few lines. So we can say it's an underestimate, can't we? Because we rounded 513 kilometres down to 500, and we also rounded 0.81 down to 0.8. So we'll say underestimate as 513 was rounded down to 500 and 0.81 to 0.8. Okay, question 25. Here is a straight line, L, drawn on a grid. So this looks like it's going to be an equation of a straight line question. So there's L, goes through 3 on the y-axis, so that's going to be our y-intercept. And part A, find equation for L. So they want the equation of that line. So the equation of a straight line, the form is y equals mx plus c. C, that's your y-intercept, and m is our gradient or slope. And y and x, they are just coordinates that would be on the line, but we don't write their values, we just leave y and x in our equation. So we're looking for a value for m and we're looking for a value for c. So take a look at your line. You can see what the value for c would be. It would be 3. So we could make a note of that. And if we say c equals 3. Now they're looking for the gradient, and there's 2 ways you can work out the gradient, but the best way is this, and that's y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So pick 2 points on your line. We pick that point and that point. You want points that really cross your grid at a coordinate. So you see here, that's not a good point. You want points on the line that you can definitely read the coordinates. So if we pick this one here, and that has an x value of 2 and a y value of 6. So 2 goes first, and then 6 goes second. And that, so the x is x2, and this is y2. And then the first point, we pick this one here, and our x coordinate is 0, and our y coordinate was 3. And this was your first point, so this is 0 is x1, and the y is y1. What we're doing here is we're finding what the difference in y is divided by what the difference in x is. We pop those values in. So y2 was 6 and y1 is 3. So 6 minus 3 divided by x2 was 2 and x1 is 0. 3, 2. So there's your gradient, and we'll make a note of that. Do that here, m equals 3/2. And now you can form your equation because you have C and you have M, and you write it out as y equals M first, which was 3/2, x plus C, which was 3. Now, I said there was one other way you could have done this, and that was if you picked a point on the graph. So pick a coordinate. If we use the second coordinate, the x2 and y2, if we use those two values, and you could put those into an equation. So I'll show you. I've not got much working out space. Let's do this over here. So we have y equals mx plus c. So we would say y equals 6. See it? There is a 6 there. X equals, let's use 2. And c equals 3. So put those values into y equals mx plus c and then rearrange it to find m. So we had 6 equals m we don't know, x we know is 2, plus 3. So all we have now is one unknown, which is m, and we can rearrange this equation to find m. So we would minus 3 from both sides. That would give us 3 equals m2, and divide by 2, m equals 3/2. And then you would write it out just as we have here. But looking at the mark scheme, this technique, y2 minus y1, is the preferred answer. That's the first option they give to award the mark, and whoever is marking your exam, that's what ideally they're going to be looking for. So revise this technique, how to find the gradient of a line, the y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. And then part B, M is a different straight line. Notice it's a capital M, so don't confuse that with the gradient. M is a different straight line with an equation of y equals 5x. Write down the equation of a straight line parallel to M. Okay, so when straight lines are parallel to each other, they have the same gradient. And we know the gradient is M, and all M is the coefficient of x. It's the number that's in front of x. So the number in front of x in our equation y equals 5x is 5. So any line with a gradient with an m value of 5 will be parallel. So choose any line, write the equation out, y equals 5x, and just say add a 1. Question 26. Kasim has some small jars, some medium jars, and some large jars. He has a total of 400 jars. 3/8 of the 400 jars are empty. For the empty jars, the number of small jars compared to the number of medium jars is 3 to 4. Okay, and for the medium jars compared to the number of large jars is 1 to 2. Okay, we've got different ratios here. They want the percentage of Kazim's jars that are empty small jars. And look at this. This is a 5-mark question. See down there? Okay, so there's quite a lot of maths here. Let's start off with what we know. So we've got 3/8 of the 400 jars are empty. Let's work that out first. So 3/8 of 400. Now, whenever you see an of in maths, it just means multiply, just means times. So you can rewrite that as 3/8 multiplied by 400. Now, we're dealing with a fraction and a whole number. And whenever you deal with a whole number and a fraction and you've got to multiply, turn the whole number into a fraction by popping it over 1. And then you can just multiply the numerators and the denominators. So that will give you 3 times 400, which is 1200, divided by 8 times 1, that's 8. And then if we do bus stop for that, that would equal, you can put 1200 in the bus stop, divided by 8. So 8's into 12, go once and you're left with 4. And then 8's into 40 is 5. That's 150. So 150 of the 400 jars are empty. So if we make a note, total empty jars equal 150. And now let's do these ratios. So we've got small to medium is 3 to 4. So small to medium is 3 to 4. And then we've got medium to large is 1 to 2. So we have two separate ratios for medium, and we want to make this 1 into a 4. So if we put a 4 there, so to go from 1 to 4, here we multiply by 4. And then if we do the same to the other side, that means we'll have 8. So we could write a complete new ratio now of small, medium, large, small to medium to large, and the small would be 3, and then we can say the large is 8. Make sure you put your colons in between. And now how many parts in total? So we've got 3 plus 4 plus 8. These are the total number of parts. Add that up, we do 3 plus 4 plus 8, which equals 15. And then, so the total number of empty jars was 150. So 150, divide that by 15, that equals 10. So we have to multiply these by 10. And they only want the small jars. So what we would do is we would go 3 multiplied by 10. That will give us 30. We may want to show the maths for that. So 3 multiplied by 10 equals 30. So there's 30 small jars are empty jars. So we can make a note, small empty jars. And they want what percentage of Kazim's jars that are empty are small jars. Well, we've got 30 of them out of a total of 400. So there will be 30 out of 400. And percent is out of 100, isn't it? So to get that out of 100, we divided that by 4. So 30 divided by 4. Again, we might want to show the maths. So we do bus stop for this. So 30, 4's into 30. That's 28, isn't it? So that would be 7, but we got 2 left over. 4's into 20, go 5. So that's 7.5. And that's your answer, 7.5%. And we're on to 27. Okay, so in a sale, normal prices are reduced by 30%. The sale price of a TV is £280. Work out the normal price of the TV. It has 2 marks. Now, with these kind of percentage problems, they want to see that you can show a percentage decrease by using 1 minus the amount that it's been reduced by. So if I explain, you have the normal prices are reduced by 30%. So what you'll be writing out is 1 minus 30%. You'll have the 30% as a decimal. Remember, with percentages, it means percent divided by 100. So 30% as a decimal first. So if we do 30% equals 0.3, and then you would do 1 minus 0.3, which equals 0.7. And that's what you'll be multiplying by. So you will have 0.7 multiplied by, now the normal price will go here. And we don't know what the normal price is. So we're going to let x equal the normal price. So you've got 0.7 multiplied by x equals, and this is the sale price, which was 280. So you're going to divide by 0.7, and they will probably only 2 marks, so you'll be able to go divide by 0.7, both sides, remember. And that leaves you with x equals 280 divided by 0.7. You don't want to go dividing by decimals, So we're going to move the decimal point one place, whatever you do to the top of a fraction, as long as you do it to the bottom. So that will actually equal 2800 divided by 7. And if we do a quick bus stop of that, 7's into 28 go 4. So you're left with 400, and that's your answer. So number 28, we've got to solve x plus 11 is less than or equal to 5 minus a half x. X plus 11, it's an inequality. Now don't worry about the fact that it's an inequality. Just imagine that that's an equal sign. It's the same thing. The only time it would be different is if you were going to multiply or divide by a negative value. So if you had, say, negative 2x is greater than 4, and you divided both sides by negative 2, and you had x, you would have to flip this sign. You'd have to do that. But I think it's much easier to avoid doing this altogether. And what I would do in this situation is I would add the 2x and subtract the 4 and just switch the sides over. But you're not going to worry about that in this. So our first step is let's get rid of this fraction. So we're going to multiply by 2 to get rid of the fraction, but we have to multiply both sides, both terms by 2. So on this side, we will have 2 multiplied by x plus 2 multiplied by 11. Now I wouldn't usually lay it out like this, but that's how the mark scheme wants it laid out. A more elegant way would be 2 multiplied by x plus 11, but they want to see that you are actually doing the steps. So as frustrating as this looks, we do it the exam board way. And then the other side, same thing. You've got 2 multiplied by 5, and then you've got minus 2 multiplied by a half x. That will give us 2x plus 22. And 2 times 5 is 10. Minus 2 times a half x, that becomes minus x, because when you multiply by a fraction, so we've got a whole number and a fraction, pop the whole number over 1, you multiply the top and the bottom. So the numerator's 2 times 1 is 2, over 1 times 2, that's 2, and you can just see that's 1. So that's why the fraction disappears. And now we'll move this x, so we're going to plus x to both sides, and again we have to show it. So 2x plus 22 plus x is less than or equal to 10 minus x plus x. And so on the left we have 3x plus 22, and on the right we have just 10, because minus x plus x is 0. Now we'll move the 22, and again we have to show it. So 3x plus 22 minus 22 is less than or equal to 10 minus 22. So 3x is less than or equal to minus 12. And then you're going to divide by 3. You can just do that like this. So you end up with x is less than or equal to negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4. And pop that in the answers. And that's your final answer in the end of the paper. I hope you found that helpful. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.